Hello, and welcome to Lucy's Inspiring Stories, where we spotlight everyday women doing extraordinary things. And today's guest is a woman who can walk into a room full of strangers and walk out with a circle of empowered friends and business allies. That's how powerful she is. She is known as the master connection expert, the sparkle behind the strategy, and the heart behind the 25-year-old movement. Women make a difference. She's taught thousands in how to turn conversations into community and networking into both profit and joy. If you've ever wondered how to show up, be seen, and stay remembered, this is your episode. Val, I'm so honored to have you with us today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so honored you selected me, Lucy. You have a cajillion women you could pick, right?
Thank
With
you.
inspiring
Where are
stories.
you tuning in from? Tell us.
I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's very
Albert.
hot.
Now, were you born there?
I was born in New Mexico, but not in Albuquerque.
Okay. So, what brought you to Albuquerque? Just so that we get to know. I love to know why people end up where they end up.
Yes, I do too. I often ask that question. Well, I went away I was in a small town. I went away to college, and a friend and I said, let's move to the big city. Albuquerque is the biggest city in New Mexico. It was not really that big at the time.
Right.
Right now, pushing a million. That's big for our
That's big.
state. So, yeah, there's a lot happening here. We're known for things you'll know about. We're known for red and green chili and New Mexican style cooking, which is really, really awesome.
Uh-huh.
And also the International Balloon Fiesta, where
Ah,
people come from all over the world to fly their hot air balloons.
wow. That is so exciting. I don't really know New Mexico, but as you know, I am in Mexico itself, in
Right.
outside of Guadalajara, the a big city with 17 million people. Now that's a big city for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
Oh,
like
my.
you, I don't like big. I don't know that you said you didn't like big cities. I don't. I like to be close to them, but I don't like to be living in the city itself, if you know what I mean.
Mhm. Yes. Yes.
So, you call yourself the master connection expert, but you say that you start your journey, or your journey began in silence. Can you take us back to that moment and how it led to everything you're doing now?
Absolutely, Lucy. I see there's a little bit of a lag, so I'm just going to try to talk slower. I don't know if that
Okay.
will help, right? I mean, are you hearing me okay?
I hear you perfectly. Yes.
What's difficult for me is to talk slow because I'm a fast talker. I don't know where that comes from. But I had an incident happen when I was 11 years old that kind of shut me down, and it was of a sexual nature. And as we grow up and we come to find out, things happen to girls almost, I don't know, I heard some statistic like 3 out of 5 girls, something
Wow.
has happened to them. Okay, it wasn't in my family, which, I don't know if that's good or bad, but my little sister and I were walking home from the swimming pool and a boy took me down. Okay, I won't say any more about that, but the next day at the swimming pool, the public swimming pool, everybody was whispering about that girl. Did you hear about that girl? And I wasn't about to say anything because I'm like that. I felt shameful. It's like, why?
Right.
Why did he pick me? I must have been doing something. I don't know, but that kind of lived with me through all my life, whether I knew it or not. We all
Right.
have some little something that happens, and so I had to just kind of dig deep to find out what is it that really had me creating this community. For one thing, I had started selling or sharing, I should say, Legal Shield, which is a legal membership. I don't. The company's been around over 50 years,
Right.
and I started sharing that back in 1998, and I was still working full time at a corporate job, and I'm thinking, well, how can I get this out to more people? I love what this stands for. I like it for myself. How can I tell more people?
Hmm.
And I love talking to people. I never knew that, but I was always the social butterfly at the jobs, creating the happy hours, the parties,
Right.
all that.
The fun
And I
stuff.
thought, yeah, all the fun stuff. I said, well, why don't I just start my own thing? And I did actually with another woman. Uh, she lasted about 6 months. And then she said, I'm just not going to, this isn't for me. And I almost threw in the towel then. I'm glad I didn't. That would have been, let's see, that would have been about July of 2002. Because we started in September of 2001, and we're about to have a big 25th celebration, September 12th, which is, wow, that's 3 months from today. Wow. I mean, talk about promoting events. Like, I'm getting on that one. I got a committee to help me plan this one. But I just started having an event where I could talk about Legal Shield, but I found out very quickly I couldn't just be talking about me. So it's morphed into so many things over 25 years, as you might imagine. You know, you streamline, you get better, you bring in more things, you have more people. So little by little, this community started creating it's not just women. I didn't want to be alienating anybody, but it is named Women Make a Difference after all. And I have had a number of men over the years approach me and say, can you help me create Men Make a Difference? And I say, not really. You know, you need to figure out your own.
Yeah.
But men don't gather like women. And women have a special way of building friendships. Not that men can't, but I'm just saying women have that nurturing way of, you know, coming together, finding commonalities, having family, kids, all those things to share, stories. And it's just a beautiful thing. But this is really all based about business. But as you know, as a business owner yourself, if you're not having the underlying thing of personal, you know, communicating with people, you have to have that personal effect as well. Yeah. So you can't help, I mean, for me anyway, I can't help but make a friend if I'm making a new business associate as well. So that's why, I mean, I think God just gave me the gift of gab. That's why I said I never recognized these talents that I will go on to probably share, you know, as we're talking, as that they could be anything. But it turns out they are.
Well, this was in 2002. We're 2025. We're talking about 23 years ago. You created Women Make a Difference. At the time, there was something missing in the networking at the time that you felt you had to create your own space. I mean, you did mention that.
I left my job actually about 16 months after I started Legal Shield.
Okay.
And I went to networking events, and there'd be some little something I didn't particularly care for. You know, they weren't very friendly, or it was cliquish, or they didn't, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was together or whatever. So I thought, well, that's, you know, I see that's a personality trait of mine. If I don't like something, I'll either start my own or I'll ask, can I help in that area? And sometimes it's not very well liked, but it doesn't matter. I in this case, I started my own. And I started it with some other, the audience would be the other Legal Shield associates, thinking, oh, they have a way to invite their people. They didn't get it. They didn't understand that networking is for everyone. I mean, I could meet a Mary Kay rep in the bathroom and she could be networking with me. So it didn't really matter. I was the gathering person for this, but it gave me that voice that I had lost so long ago. That was the whole point of that story of going back to when I was 11. I didn't realize I didn't have a voice, but I was always behind the scenes. I did all the behind the scenes stuff. Right. Because I was a Rainbow Girl. Have you ever heard of Rainbow Girls? It's more of a Christian organization, and growing up, it's related to Masons and Eastern Star.
Okay.
And D. Malay are the boys, and Rainbow are the girls. And you learn speaking, and you learn team, and you learn just different things. I think that also gave me a leg up. I didn't come into the, you know, corporate world saying I'm going to be a speaker. But over my career, people have told me, you should be a teacher. You're good at educating people. And that's funny. I never wanted to be a teacher or a nurse. I was very clear about that. So that's just kind of funny, I think.
But way back then, there weren't too many choices for women in our generation. I mean, it was a nurse or a teacher or be a mother. There's nothing wrong with any of those, except that if you wanted something else, you know.
Absolutely. Well, mine was airline stewardess, but I didn't get to be the airline stewardess.
Oh, yeah.
So I turned everything into traveling. And that's the beauty of doing this. I can go all over the world and network. I haven't started one in another city. I've been told that. It's like, do I want to work that hard? But I've had people want to model me. I've had other, you know, national associations in my town. All of them want to partner up with me. What is it that I'm doing? And I've just always said, no, I've got my own, you know, very politely, I've got my own thing going. But really, even though I was building something for somebody else, it felt like it really was filling a void for me and being able to have my voice And I am on the astrological sign, not that I'm a big astrologer, but I do know my own sign. I'm a Leo Virgo, and Leos are extroverts generally, and they want to gather people and be social butterflies. So that also kind of lends to that. So we do monthly events. I have a big event tomorrow afternoon, actually a big luncheon, and looking forward to that and planning all that out. And we have always those events are a mini vendor fair.
Mhm.
After COVID, it kind of changed. I mean, just like anything, like most businesses changed. I did a luncheon every month. In fact, I was at one country club here in Albuquerque for 192 events in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So, can you tell us, like, you have these events every month. What is that you do at these events? Obviously, you have lunch. Yeah, there's networking going on, but what's the mission behind these luncheons?
well, I'm aiming to get people making the connections they need to make. So we do
Mhm.
speed networking. We always have a learning component. There's
Okay,
a
good.
keynote speaker who is talking about something that I'm interested in usually, or I like to bring in speakers that haven't been around town already, like a new person.
Right.
So this I haven't had her, and she hasn't been in Albuquerque, and she's talking about the power of optimism and that potential that we all have for leveraging that potential. So I'm really anxious to hear from Deb Tisler, who that is. The mini vendor fairs came about because it's like we need to do shopping and so forth. By that we give people another chance to have some visibility. So really, the mission is to give a solopreneur or a business person, business owner, uh, more visibility by networking, vendoring, sponsoring. I have all different kinds of opportunities that they can then talk about themselves, show up in a better way. Even as small as bringing a door prize. I acknowledge those people. They get to stand up when they bring a prize. But to me, it's all about getting more visibility and maybe getting out of that scared way of, I don't like networking. I shouldn't show up. It's not worth it. So I'm all about the ROI and the ROR, which is return on relationship. I didn't create that phrase. You've heard of that before, though, right? Return on
Right.
relationship, ROR for your efforts in networking. So moving into teaching the strategy of that by being organized and having your pitch a little tighter. I don't know, Lucy, your audience may or may not know the other studies that you do with mentors, such as Forbes Riley.
Right, right. Well, you and I met with Forbes at the Forbes Riley Live. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was just 2 months ago. I mean, it feels like forever, but
Oh no.
it's interesting. So these are live events that you put on, which you must have been affected greatly. When COVID happened, what did you do? How did you pivot? What did you do to save your soul, so to
I,
speak?
I hadn't been on one single Zoom ever when that happened in March of 20, as we know. The last luncheon I had was at that time was March 13th. And I had 66 reservations, and boom, in 2 days it went down to 44 reservations because people were getting nervous.
Right.
And that particular one happened to be a fundraiser. So every once in a while, I'll also have a fundraiser inside of a luncheon, helping a local nonprofit raise some money with a silent auction and raffle and things like that. And that's what this particular one was, is like, oh my gosh, of all the ones, it turned out to be the best one we had done, 3 for them, even with the less people. So that was kind of cool. But man, I knew I had to pivot. You know what I started thinking of, honestly, Lucy, is I'm a leader in my own right. I'm not
Mhm.
the president. I'm not having to make those kind of decisions, or the president of a company. What am I going to do with my employees and all that? But I am a leader of women counting on me. I had those thoughts. I'm like, I got to do something. So I called up somebody that I knew, I don't know, was a little more savvy. I said, can you go on a test Zoom with me and we figure this out? And so April, I didn't miss a beat. April, they're always the second Fridays, my luncheons are. And so I didn't miss a beat the second Friday in April. I was on Zoom doing it. And now we've migrated the last couple of years with every other month. So the live events this year are the even months, and the virtual events are on the odd months, and they're still the second Friday all these years.
Well, what do you find? Do you find that the virtual bring in more people than the actual events, or what's been very successful for you, or more successful
No,
for you?
once we started doing live again, which was December of 22, nobody was doing events down here. Again, I go, wow, let me be the first one to do it because
Right.
why not? And it's been tough ever since to get people out. I always wanted to stand on these numbers from 2015, where I had an average of 77 people per event that year. That's a lot of people.
It is.
Now, now I can get about 40, 45. 50 is what I try to aim for. Tomorrow I have 38. Not as good as I would like, but it's summer. It's we're always saying so.
Yeah,
It doesn't
it's
mean
summertime. Yeah.
right. The people that show up are the ones that are going to benefit, obviously.
Right.
But but the virtuals, no, the virtuals aren't bringing hardly any. I'll probably get about 15 people.
Oh,
But
that's
to me,
interesting.
it's so valuable because I learned an app that's inside of Zoom, and maybe there's something on your platform that lets you do like a roulette style of networking. It just bounces you to another room, not you setting up a session and going to a room.
Yeah.
We can
No,
talk
we
about
have
that off.
yeah, we have that. We have the connector. We call it the connector, which helps you to connect with people instantly who are in the same category, working in the same landscape that you are.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so
Very nice.
that is a biggie for this particular platform. You talked about ROR. I mean, return on relationship is what you said. It's
Hmm.
not just return on income, which is ROI.
Hmm.
Return on relationship. What does that mean to you, and how can our listeners, my listeners, your listeners, start prioritizing that today?
Well, I think many times when you go to a networking event, you enroll, you pay for, you RSVP, pay for the
Mhm.
event. You're generally thinking about what am I going to get out of it? Aren't we all? I mean, of course, that we have to be self-centered in a way to think that we're going to do business, but you really have to build a bit of a relationship first. Sometimes business can happen right away, but most often, and in my experience, you need to build a little bit of an relationship so that they begin to know, like, and trust you. Those famous three words that everybody says that you're not going to be doing anything unless you have that.
Right.
Well, I didn't really set out to do. I'd heard that phrase. I didn't set out to do that, but the very fact of what I've done and been that container, that vessel for so many business people all these years has earned me know, like, and trust, like in spades. You wouldn't believe it. It's like, wow, I didn't know if I could have taught a lesson on, and that's what had this turning point of me being able to teach people how to show up better. I don't mean just the way you dress, just in a lot of ways, having an intention before you go. I'm going to
Right.
meet three quality people. I'm not going to I'm going to give my card to everybody and see, what spaghetti hits the wall. No, I'm going to meet three quality people that I can meet later with on a one-on-one. So if you don't get their card and you don't put them in your database and you're not organized that way, you won't have a chance to do the follow-up and nothing will happen. I mean, in a short order, to say that quickly. So it's really about nurturing I think when you get a business card, it's almost like a little bar of gold because it represents maybe some business down the road in the future.
Right.
And as another mentor of mine says, every single person is either already your client, can be a future client. What's the third one? I mean, all of them qualify. Whatever that third piece is, your client, a
Well,
future client.
I see every person knowing at least 20 other people. And so I may be talking to you and you may not be my ideal client, but you may know my ideal client.
Absolutely. Or
Yeah.
you may know the client for the other person. Maybe that's that third one. So I apologize. I don't know that third piece, but it's like, wow, that's true. So you always want to show up with active listening and wanting to learn more about the other person. What is that phrase? You should be more interested than interesting. If you're interesting, you're blah, blah, blah about yourself.
Right,
If you're
exactly.
interested, you're interested in them. And I happen to have not to beat on myself or like, woo, 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 like, Superman pounding the chest. I happen to have the superpower of memory. And it has gotten me so far. And again, that was one of those traits that, like, Okay, so what? I can remember all the names and dates and faces, and it drives some people in my family crazy. But yet, I'm the person they always come to. Who was that person? What was that date? When did we do that? What, all those things. And I don't have to try to do that. I just have a good memory. But that's really key in business because people, what's the thing people want to hear the most? Their own
Your
name.
name. Yeah.
You
And,
remember
and
somebody.
I'm laughing because my sister is one of you who always remembers everything. We actually go to her. I mean, part of me goes, darn, why can't I remember that? I was there. She remembers what I wore. She remembers what she wear. I mean, it's unbelievable, the memory.
Oh,
So you
wow.
are blessed with a special gift. You're also a queen of follow-up, I know, and follow through. Why do you think most people struggle with this? And what's maybe one shift they can make to improve?
Um, I think, it's that instant gratification. Again, I went networking. I went to an event. I didn't meet anybody. Boom, I'm on to the next thing. Instead, say, oh, wait, let me nurture those 3 cards, 5 cards, 10 cards I got, and maybe send them a personal message. I mean, the ultimate would be sending them a personal card in the mail. Nobody does that anymore.
No.
That's a little hard to do. But I mean, if you were really trying to make an impression or you really made a great connection, but I like to play the game of, let me see if I can follow up first, which would hopefully be in the first 24 to 48 hours. And that's taking the cards from my purse, from my coat pocket, from whatever at that event into put them by my computer that evening or that afternoon, and then getting to it. And I'm kind of rabid about my database. I don't think anybody, as much as I am and see that I can keep cleaning it up. I just did some recent cleanup last month that because I'm actually loading it into the GST software, my CRM. So I've got, Lucy and I know about a different platform that I'm choosing to use that is kind of an all-in-one as well. And I've been using MailChimp for years, but it's not free. It's free at first, but I send so many emails, it costs me, a little chunk, about a half a C note a month. Those, to me, that's, those things start adding up. Anyway, but I mean, I get them in there right away. And not only that, I not only put them in my professional emailing system, which I think if you're doing business in any kind of form, you probably need a professional email system of some sort.
Right.
You can email alone, but I mean, there's really 3 places I'm going to put them. I'm going to put them in my MailChimp, or GSD. I'm going to put them in my Gmail because you don't want all your eggs in one basket. I also have them in my Google, right, as a different list. Not a different list, an additional list. They're in there. It's a duplicate, I guess. And then friend them on Facebook as well. I'm not as big on LinkedIn. I noticed that you guys put my LinkedIn profile up. I get after this, maybe I'll be checking my LinkedIn profile more. But
And that's the middle CTA button here, what they call to action button with the middle one where it says let's connect, and you see Val's face. If you click on that'll take her to her LinkedIn. And so so we're going to get her more active on LinkedIn, I suppose. But I mean,
well,
you
I'd
talk
love
about
people to
CRM, you
do
talk about calendars, you talk about, that's why I love this platform. I'm not here to sell the platform to anybody, but we have all of those things, and the CRM, the video conferencing with the groups, and for a minimum cost that nobody else can beat. So, yeah. But that's another story altogether. With so many events and conversation happening online and offline, what's your advice for showing up and standing out?
I actually have a thing about that. When you go to an event, the worst thing you could do is sign in and go sit down. No. So you need to stand up, right? And literally, and standing up is standing out because then you're moving around. People are seeing you. They're always judging us. Women, what are you wearing? What do you know? We're not asking you, but we're looking, right? I mean, come on, we got to call it what it is because that's what we're doing. And go up and introduce yourself to someone. Now, in my event tomorrow, I've already identified that there's 6 people who have never been there. So I'm going to make sure, and they're marked on the guest list. I have somebody that works that, but that triggers that person to be a little extra friendly, a little more kid gloves with that person who's never been here. And then I'm trying to stand there as much as I can if I don't get called away so that I can be greeting the people. And I think that's what sets my events apart, just because they're getting that friendly thing right away. And then if I can already tell they're shy, and I'm a pretty good judge on that, I go introduce them to somebody right away. That way they're not standing there going, oh, what do I do?
Right.
You know, because you've been to events before where you didn't know anybody. It's a little scary.
Yeah. It's connecting and networking. You're certainly known for your warmth and now your memory, but are there systems or maybe strategies that you use to help you remember people so well?
Well, what I'm teaching, and I'm hoping to do this at a live event, it's going to take a little finagling, is what I did at the Forbes Factor Live when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I put you in my phone. I start a new contact and I put Lucy. And if I know your last name, I put that. And then I hand you the phone. I say, here, add your email and your phone number, please. Sure. People do it right away.
Yeah.
And then I take the phone back and I hit contact a photo. And I put my camera up and I take a picture of you and you're in my contacts right away with your picture.
Wow.
That will help people remember. So that's a very easy technique to, and so otherwise you could take pictures of each other like a selfie. Well, then I'm in your picture. I want to see your picture when I dial you up on the phone. It's one of my techniques that I can share easily with people that begins them go, yeah, if I had a name to the face, that might help. Or if they knew, Lucy's coming. Who's Lucy? And they look on their phone. Oh yeah, that's Lucy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And no pictures are worth what is it? 1,000 words.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so true. What's your biggest networking success story? A moment that made you go, yes, this is why I do this.
Oh my gosh. I wish I would have been documenting this all these years. I do have my Atta girls, right? We have the Atta boys the old way, but I have my Atta girls, little testimonials that people have given me that I've put on one sheet, like in conversation bubbles. If I feel like down or something, I could go look at all those Atta girls. But one in particular was this new woman that had been in town. I can't remember, it's about 6 or 7 years ago, but I can't remember if I had actually met her before this or not. But somebody said that she needed to go to Women Make a Difference. And I knew about this other woman coming that was looking for somebody to fill a position she had. And I knew this woman I'm first talking about, her name's Jen, who's actually a good friend of mine now, was looking for a job. And so I made sure to introduce them, and she got the job. And it was just like, wow, I was the catalyst for that. That's cool. I mean, that's so simple, but it just felt so rewarding.
It feels good, doesn't it, to be able to serve and help.
And when I find out, and I say what I love most about what I do is when I find out that two people met at Women Make a Difference and have become friends and collaborators and doing business together and referring each other. That's the best thing in my mind that could happen.
And
it does happen.
We talked about being an extrovert, Leo. I thought they were really introverts. I know a couple of Leos. My father was one. He was really an extrovert. But my best friend is one, and she's kind of an introvert. How can introverts or behind the scene types, which you used to be, how can they approach networking in a way that, that kind of feels authentic and not forced?
I think they could offer to help. The person doing an event is probably always looking for something. Then they get in and they start meeting the people on an easier way. Like, you help me with my name tag. Oh, and now I know who you are, kind of. Not really, but at least it's somebody that you've met and you kind of have like a little tiny connection with. So you know how it is when we always help. Of course we meet more people. If you did the registration, especially. So generally people are looking. I'm always having people say, can I help you? Can I help you with something? Well, now I have Ben, and he helps me go set up my whole room. But I mean, just in general, over time, people ask that. And then I got told, this is really interesting. I got told one time when I had a set of about 5 gals that helped me. One did the registration. A couple of them were ambassadors, welcoming new people. One took the pictures. One was the tech person. So there's that little circle of people, and they told me they got more business from being connected with me, helping me, than they did it. That was where most of their business was coming from. I was floored by that. So that's kind of cool because that's a double-edged sword. You're getting, well, it's not a sword, it's a good sword. You're getting
It's a good sword, yeah.
You're meeting people, but you might possibly also be getting business because you're connected with the plant.
You're impacting so many people's lives and you don't even know it. You've also received awards for mentoring and entrepreneurship. What does legacy mean to you in this, this season of your work, kind of, so to speak?
Wow, Lucy, I didn't really think about legacy. I know my own daughter, probably, she's proud of me, but she's not necessarily going to go on with the torch. But probably the greatest one, I have two awards that have really been very meaningful. One was almost 10 years ago, was a Woman of Influence, and it's by our city's business paper. They had 350, was it 350 or 450 nominations, and they choose 32 women, or that year they did, but it's usually around 32, 35 women.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a big dinner and a big something. So I was nominated, and I won in the category of community and leadership. And I'm up against, big companies in our town and accountants and lawyers and all kinds of people. I'm like, wow, but that community really means something to a town where, you can make community. I had 48 people attending that, which put us into this other stratosphere of sponsorship somehow, because I wanted everybody to sit together. I collected the money and paid the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had 4 tables of people representing me at this event. And it was so cool. So Woman of Influence, that was important. But then what came around about 6 years ago was outstanding mentorship for the Excellies, which are put on by Forbes Riley, the Excellence in Entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And her team nominated me and among 6 other women.
Well,
but the kicker was we had to go out and get our own nominations. Not our own nominations, our own votes from our own sphere of influence. And so I went to town getting my sphere of influence. Look, this is what I'm up for, and this is what I'm doing. And I probably put a little something together. Not a video. I'm kind of shy away from video. I can be on video. I don't necessarily want to do my own video. And I won that. And wow, that meant something. That meant, oh my gosh, I really had mentored. If all these people came back and saw me as that, really meaningful.
That's wonderful. So, if somebody wants to connect with you, there are 2 call to action buttons to the left, to my right, I think.
Yes.
And if you hit the middle button, it will connect you, as I mentioned, to Val's LinkedIn. But the bottom one, if you wish to visit her website, and it's a work in progress, isn't it? The website. And you will find all the information you need. Now, what I want to, before we leave, is talk about your big event that's coming up next week. Exactly what date is that? Can we talk about that?
I have a luncheon tomorrow, but that's not so available for people,
Right.
all over, unless they're in New Mexico. But I have a big workshop I'm doing about some of these things that we've been talking about, called it's called Val-You Networking Live, which is a play off my name, Val-You Networking. And also Val-You Handyman Services coming. That's kind of a whole different leg. But Val-You Networking Live is a 3.5-hour workshop that is organize, optimize, memorize, and has the components of crafting a pitch, organizing your contacts, getting rid of your business card stacks, and some memory techniques. So yeah, this will be great. And that's June 26th. Again, it's live here in New Mexico, but I have done challenges online. So my best advice is just join my email list and see what I have coming up, and you're going to hear about it, because we have virtuals every other month. And if you're someone that lives somewhere else but wants to connect with people in New Mexico, it'd be a perfect time to. So I believe the next one of those is July 11th. But again, if you signed up for the mailing list, and if you went to the website and at the bottom is join a mail list, you're going to get timely e-blast about what's going on with Women Make a Difference and Val-You Networking.
I just want to mention to our listeners that, because we know that most people watch these replays more than, I mean, I want to thank Brad and Cheryl to, for being here live with us. But most of you will see the replay just so that you know these call to action buttons are live in the replay also. So you heard Val say, visit her website. I did visit the website. It has all that information there. So there's plenty of ways to communicate with a Val. Val, what a gift you've been. Your energy is contagious. Your wisdom is exactly what so many solopreneurs and community builders need right now. So to our listeners, if you ever doubted whether networking could be joyful, impactful, and fun, Val just gave you all the proof. So do connect with her and she will help you. All right. So don't forget to also, you can grab her free gift if you go
Mhm.
to her website. It's called
Yeah.
optimizeyourconnections.com. And
Mhm.
you can also follow her upcoming events, which I'd love for you to do virtual and live. And she'll help you show up, stand out, and follow through like never before. So,
Yeah.
Val, thank you
Yeah.
for being the sparkle, the
Yeah, thank
strategy.
you. And I love that, showing you a little lesson on just your own contacts. I mean, to me, whether you're already feel like you're organized or not, there's always more organizing. I mean, just think of your house, but what
Right.
about your business and your contacts? And if you can let a lot of stuff go in your head if you're organized, and that lets you follow up better. So I know I left a few cliffhangers when you'd asked me a question. I might have gone off into something else, but showing up and having an intention and following up with those few people and
Yeah.
doing that over and over and over again, that can make a huge difference in your business, I promise.
Well, we
Thank
know
you.
that the money's in the follow-up. We've heard that over and over again.
Fortune
You
is really in the follow-up. It's true. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for the opportunity, Lucy. I loved it. And
Thank
I
you,
love
Val.
seeing
Thank
your
you for
cute
being
face
here.
most of all.
Thank you. And thank you for Brad and Cheryl, who are
Yes.
always very supportive. And thank you to the audience. And we will see you next week with another episode of Lucy's Inspiring Stories. See you then.
Thank
Bye
you.
for
Thank
now.
you. Thank you.